The first big balance patch, a 2x KO, is finally here. Was it worth the wait? Well, I think it depends on who you actually play. If you're a Yasuo or Ekko main, you might be feeling like this. If you don't play Yasuo or Ekko, you'll probably be pretty happy. I want to look at some of the feedback that people are giving this patch. It's really hit or miss. Some people think this is a good patch. I think this is about like an average patch. I think there's pros and cons, and we'll go over that. And there's some people are just completely dooming about the patch. Here's Super Noon's thoughts. He's probably one of the strongest players in the world right now. This patch seems like it was made months ago, which makes sense. Vi, charge S1, and Laui down S2 charge are still really strong, but Yasuo nerfs seem pretty wild, but he's no longer playing Yasuo, so he's okay. And then he thinks the Darius got nerfed, which Darius kind of took a big nerf, and it really wasn't warranted if you ask me. Again, people still dooming about Ekko Yasuo. I personally think Ekko might still be the best character in the game, which is probably why Super Noon's pretty happy about the patch. He's an Ekko main. But I do think Yasuo will probably fall down a tier, but he might still be pretty good, and we'll talk about that. Even, yeah, Super Noon says, goodbye Yasuo, hello Teemo Ekko. Yasuo this patch, LMAO. Warwick finally. Warwick also got nerfed. Ekko nerfs are healthy for the game. This guy plays Ekko. So anytime someone says that the characters you got were healthy for the game, it means your character's probably gonna be fine, right? Also, please, I'm not dumb, or I'm not seeing the bug fix on Vi Sway. There are still some bugs here. This is referring to the fact that Vi has this like bug here where you like, if you try to throw during sway, you sometimes just randomly drop it unless the input's frame perfect, which happens there. Yeah, Nitin says amazing patch, and yeah, we got overall like pretty mixed feelings, I think. I personally gave this a 6 out of 10. I'll summarize my thoughts, which is the tiers are pretty condensed. There's big bug fixes. My favorite one is the Ekko Super 1 change. This is the old patch, by the way. We're still kind of waiting a day for the new patch to come online. But right now, if you do this and you try to parry the super, actually, it's usually like if they delay it for like a frame trap, and you have to guess how many hits this is gonna be. That was a 2 hit. I guessed wrong. I thought it was gonna be a 1 hit. Now I guess that was a 1 hit. Yeah, it's just like, it almost feels like RNG number of parries that you have to do. They finally fixed this. This is my #1 complaint about the current state of the game, is this particular bug. I think is really like corny. They fixed that, and they actually did a lot of interesting nerfs. And my team's looking strong. So Vi and Laui, they didn't really get changed, but I'm not gonna go through all the patch notes. But I will go through each character just to kind of like highlight. Vi and Laui honestly didn't get really that many changes. They lost a little bit of health, and Vi actually got some pretty okay nerfs. I thought they're gonna change the strength of this move. It sounds like it's still gonna do the same. It's still gonna function the same. It's still gonna do the same damage, but you might be able to hit her out easier, which I don't know. That move's pretty hard to hit out. And then another interesting thing. This is actually one of the bad things that I have on my rating the list, is they took away some utility from moves. So for example, like Vi JS1 is mostly a combo tool, but if you're actually really good at the game, you can use like set up a 50-50 where you go like this, and then that's the double overhead. They took the double overhead away, which, you know, now Vi's gonna have a lot less mix. I'm not really a big fan of that. I'd rather they nerf her in other ways. In particular, like, I think this is too good, like Super New was saying. I wish they toned that down instead. So I think some of the utility they removed from some moves was a little cringe. This is also almost all nerfs. I can't think if there's, I'll say basically no impactful buffs. There were some buffs here and there, but I don't think any of them were that crazy. And then there's still some bugs that we talked about that weren't addressed, right? So let's take a quick look at some of the patch notes. I'll talk about my impressions. So this section here, people keep asking me like, hey, what does this frame data cleanup mean? Basically, this means like certain moves would go into counter hit before they actually started up. So usually moves, like the way it works in this game is like, if I hit you during the startup of a move, it's not going to be counter hit, right? Like, oh, no, sorry, I forget how it works. But basically they changed they changed how the counter hit shit works, right? So for example, if I jump on Ekko, you see how that just says punish, it's not a counter hit. there's some special moves that like it's not counter hit at the right time where it should be counter hit. Basically none of this shit matters is what I'm trying to say. They adjusted some of them. I don't think any of these are that impactful. It just means some will be counter hit earlier and some will be counter hit later. Is the way I interpret it. If this is counter hit or not, it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna get a full combo anyways, right? And some air moves would matter, but these aren't like impactful air moves, right? None of them are that crazy. I think the biggest one here is the fact there's like a bug with freestyle right now, which freestyle goes from 4 seconds to 6-second cooldown if you accidentally hit the assist. So right now, if I do tag, and I hit Alawi, that's a 4-second cooldown. Now it's always gonna be 6, which is actually a pretty big nerf to freestyle. Freestyle needs it because I think freestyle is the strongest fuse right now. This was one that people complained about. This fixed a bug with push assist. So sometimes you could do like push block and it would like, if you timed the push block correctly, it would like cancel your block stun. It's really funky. Now this no longer happens, which is nice. Though this is actually really impactful for my team. This is just a bug, right? So Alawi before, if she ever killed with this S1 super, so like imagine I just do my B&B and then I end in S1 super. If this kills, I got limit strike, which means I get free burst and free meter, which means it happened all the time. Now that's actually a pretty big nerf to Alawi specifically because she could abuse this glitch a lot. Other than that, like I think most of these are kind of whatever. All right, so let's look at the changes. So Ahri has a couple big changes. Health changes are always pretty big, but in fact, I consider this S1 change right here to be the biggest change she got. So this S1 super, I think, was one of the most obnoxious things about her. So right now, if I parry the super comes back, which basically means she gets like a free mix-up. Yeah, it just comes back and hits me. Now it's gonna go away. I think that greatly reduces the strength of just randomly throwing that super out, which honestly is a really good change. I think there's too much strength in that move and it still has utility. This also could be a big change. Some of these changes, we're not really sure how impactful they are. This mid-air down heavy change, I think this is the best move in the game, or best air normal in the game because it goes so far. Maybe now I can like actually anti-air for 2H. Right now, like you see, it's never gonna work. Like I have to like, oh my god, that didn't work. You get the idea. Maybe some of those 2H's will now hit, but I'm very doubtful. But mainly it's the health and the S1 super change. Also, some of the SKD combos are no longer gonna work because they relied on the puppeting of the S2. So used to be able to like, if I'm Ahri, I could do this and then I could like do the spirit rush and then the S2 follow up. I could do all that while I'm out, and now you can't, which I actually don't like that change. I thought that was just really cool, unique thing she could do. This is what I'm talking about. Like they're just reducing some of the utility on moves that I don't think it impacts balance that much. Like, yeah, there's probably like 20-30 less damage you can get in a combo, but like you could just reduce the damage and keep this like cool mechanic. Yeah, I don't like that change. No changes for Blitz, no changes for Braum. I thought this was really interesting that they nerfed Darius. In particular, these two, they're actually two pretty big changes. Most people right now think Braum is better than Darius. So the fact that they nerfed Darius and they didn't nerf Braum, it's a little confusing. This is probably like one of Darius's best block string enders. Now you can actually parry it, which is a little confusing. I guess they wanted like more interaction. I honestly think it's okay for him not to have this because this is still good and you can like still bait out parries by like doing the delayed follow-up. It's just kind of weird that they like changed this on Darius when I think he actually needed buffs, right? Same thing, they made this no longer a double overhead, or like if I do JH, that used to be double overhead, now it's no longer a double overhead. I wish they kept it. I think he needed the power, and like it's kind of hard to set up anyways, and it knocks down. Not a big fan of those changes. But yeah, Braum got no changes. Caitlyn, honestly, this looks really long. I don't think any of these changes are that important other than this change right here. You can no longer do the glitch super, which actually was like really, really strong. The idea is you would just you would jump, you would call assist, you would say not on my watch, you would tag, and then you just delete their health. I actually did it wrong. I let the hit assist hit, but that's no longer going to work. That honestly shouldn't have been in the game, and now it's going to stay out of the game. But I wish they gave her some compensation buffs, because I think she's a little weak right now, and they didn't really give her compensation buffs. They just kind of took that away, and I guess they gave her a little frame advantage, and now the trap no longer goes away if you roll through it. Kind of. All right, Ekko. So Ekko and Yasuo, obviously the big two changes. I think Ekko is going to be okay. The main thing they changed about Ekko, there's a couple things, right? But they changed his Oki a lot. So one is like, this no longer works. I mean, it does, but like you have to be higher up, like this. And then when I do the lob, I can no longer do this, right? I can do something. I'm not sure what the Ekko players are going to come up with. There's probably maybe just activate and don't lob the projectile, but they're greatly reducing the strength of his mix-up, right? The second thing is they're just reducing a lot of like hitboxes and a lot of priority this character has, right? So for example, like all of these have like reduced hitboxes. I don't know how much it matters. It depends how much they reduce the hitbox. But for example, like I thought this was like insanely strong, just going up to someone and running up and calling J2S plus assist. Now maybe this will lose to things, and also they reduce the minimum height on this, so you might have to like do it up higher, which means you can react with 2H a little easier, but that's not entirely true because, you know, he has an air hop and the air hop's really good. I still think Ekko is going to be quite strong. And like, yeah, he has like a little bit reduced health. That's important. Lower hitboxes. It sounds like some of it's just not going to work as frequently as it does, because right now it just feels like he wins almost every interaction. Now maybe he'll like train some situations or lose in some situations where he currently wins. And also there's the S1 super that we talked about earlier. Alawi basically unchanged. She used to have a block infant, now she no longer doesn't, and she reduced a little health, but I think Alawi's gonna be perfectly fine. Jinx is basically not changed at all. Her zap now goes through Yasuo wind wall into the tornado. I don't know if it's Yasuo wind wall or Yasuo wind wall tornado it goes through, but it goes through one of those. Teemo's basically unchanged. She can no longer stall a match of flying, but no one did that anyways. Vi changes we already talked about. Reduced health. The S1 charge got nerfed, and you can no longer double overhead with her. They did fix a couple bugs with her, so that's kind of a dub. Warwick, we'll see. They nerfed her as S1. It all depends. This is the one thing I'm not sure. It all depends on what they say. Because they said they nerfed it, this should be good, although there's buffs in this nerf section. So for example, block stun on airborne opponents has been increased. That sounds like a buff to me. But besides that, it sounds like they nerfed the S1 to either be reactable or maybe make it so it doesn't like beat as many things, because it used to just like beat out random buttons. It used to beat like people jumping out. Does it still beat all that? I don't know. That's one of the things, like pretty much one of the only things about this patch that I actually need to test out. And other than these changes are not nearly as big as the S1 nerfs, especially if S1 is reactable. It's going to reduce a lot of his power. Mid-air S2. So for example, like they're also taking away like some of the power of mix-up, right? So Warwick used to be able to do this thing where he could like right, and then I could do this to hit overhead. Now it's no longer, either no longer hits, there's no longer overhead. Instead I have to do the falling, which is still like really good. He still gets 50-50s. He's just a little hard to set up. Yeah, it looks like it's just gonna whiff. And you can no longer do the one frame throw combo, which is probably good. And oh yeah, how could I forget about this? This is the biggest nerf of the patch. You can no longer do this. What were they thinking? Chat, let me know. Let me know if you guys got hit. Yeah, you can no longer do that. Huge nerf. And then Yasuo got neutered. I mean, this really, we don't have to read the rest. This basically catches it. So wind wall has more of a cooldown, and you can no longer stall the match out as much, which is important. Calm Stance is too difficult to counterplay, which is his hop. So they made this move a little bit slower. It sounds like it's not going to make that big of a difference because it's only 2 frames slower. But the big change everyone's that's dooming about is this is no longer an overhead. In particular, this move, right? So you used to be able to mix up. So for example, like after throw, the way I'd mix up is I would like either do it overhead or I'd do a low, right? And these hit on the same exact frame. Now you can no longer do that. So they basically just took out the high-low mix-up. I think this is insanely impactful. I think having access to a really strong mix-up is like what makes a good character in this game. And the fact that Ekko still has a really good neutral, he still has like insane like ways to like, you know, do shit like this. This is always gonna be strong. This is always gonna be strong. Like this is always gonna be strong. But the fact that they like took his main mix-up tool out, I think is really impactful. So yeah, that's pretty much the patch. There's some other quality of life stuff. I think maybe they reduce screen tearing on consoles. We'll see. Anything else, chat, I'm missing? I guess there's more cosmetic sets, but like they already released these. It's not that big of a deal. Yohosi put out an article talking about the patch 5. Basically everything we talked about. They did say that they are going to remove her unblockable. I guess that's the other big change. Is it sounds like they have some other things in the work. And it sounds like coming up in the future, we're going to make a sincere, concentrated effort to not impact combos going forward. Cool. They didn't really impact combos that hard this patch either, which is pretty nice. We know that combo adjustments cause a lot of player pain, and we're going to avoid this moving forward. Good. This may not always be possible, but when we do it, we're going to do it with the intention of helping combo stability rather than hurting combo stability, which is really good. Jinx and Caitlyn in particular have instances where pushback or knockbacks and minor reactions are hurting their ability to convert in a meaningful way. 100%. Finally, on where we sit, we're taking this patch to pull back some power on champions that are outside their power budget. Basically, what they're saying is they nerfed characters instead of buffing because they're worried about buffing characters too much, and then they just kind of skyrocket. Right now, I get the vibe is Riot thinks this game's really well balanced. I personally don't know who's going to be the best. If I had to guess on a tier list right now, it would be something like here. Let's make a super quick tier list, and no one share this on Twitter because I may get flamed. All right. no one share this on Twitter. I may get flamed. All right. So in my opinion, it would look something like I don't know, something like this. I don't know if this is actually true, but like really most of these characters didn't change. I just think the tiers got a little bit more compressed. Also, Teemo's not up here. I don't know why Teemo's. I do think Teemo's quite good. I think Teemo's like maybe like here, especially if they like depends on how strict the Vi nerfs were and how big the Warwick nerfs are. Again, I'm not 100% sure of all the placements. Maybe Yasuo's like here. I don't know. There's still a lot to tell, but I suspect it looks something like this. Am I right? Am I wrong? I have no clue. I just think Ekko's probably still really strong. Horrible tier list? Yeah, exactly. No one knows. No one knows. Exactly. Let me see your tier list. Yeah, no one fucking knows. This is terrible. This is terrible because so many things change and we don't know how it's going to interact with the system. So that being said, yeah, I think that's probably the cool thing about this patch is I'm really uncertain on like where things are. That's all I gotta say. All right, like, share, subscribe, and TK9K9 is better than yours. Link your fucking tier list. I'll be the judge of that. Caitlyn Bomb 2 is wild as fuck. All right, let's see it, bro. All right, fine. I'll move Caitlyn up one. I'll move Jinx up one too. I got you. Let's see the tier list, bro. Oh no, look at this. K7, the number one. Oh no, he didn't know the patch notes happened. Oh, he's cooked. Say a prayer for our boy K7. All right, take care, boys. Peace.